Willow Creek, sleepy town, quaint, charming, or so it seemed. A chill wind howled through the valley, rustling leaves and rattling windows. It whispered through the old cemetery on the hill, a place of moss-covered stones and forgotten stories. The townsfolk knew darkness lingered here. One night a piercing scream shattered the silence. Old Mrs. Hathaway, who lived alone by the creek, was found in her rocking chair, eyes wide with terror, mumbling about shadows and whispers. The doctor chalked it up to age, but the townsfolk whispered something wasn't right in Willow Creek. The Miller family arrived in Willow Creek seeking a fresh start. John, a writer seeking inspiration, saw the charm. His wife, Sarah, a photographer drawn to the beauty, felt a shiver run down her spine. Their daughter, Emily, sensed something else, something old, something watching. Their new home, a beautiful Victorian at the edge of town, had stood empty for years. Locals said it was cursed, haunted by the ghosts of its past. John scoffed. Sarah felt uneasy. Emily, however, felt strangely drawn to the house, its emptiness beckoning her. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. John found his writer's block replaced by a growing sense of unease. The words that once flowed effortlessly now seemed trapped, just out of reach. His frustration grew, but it was more than just the lack of inspiration. It was a gnawing feeling, a sense that something was amiss. He started seeing things out of the corner of his eye, fleeting shadows that vanished when he turned his head. At first, he dismissed them as tricks of the light, but the occurrences became more frequent, more unsettling. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret, every flicker a hidden truth. Sounds echoed in the night, footsteps on the stairs, whispers in the walls. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a labyrinth of unseen presences. The creaks and groans of the old structure took on a sinister tone, each noise a reminder that they were not alone. Sarah's camera began capturing strange anomalies, orbs of light, distorted figures, and once a face staring out from an upstairs window, a face no one in the house could account for. She reviewed the photos obsessively, trying to find a rational explanation, but the images defied logic, each one more disturbing than the last. Emily, meanwhile, befriended an old woman in town, a reclusive soul who lived on the outskirts. The woman, with her weathered face and piercing eyes, seemed to hold the weight of many lifetimes. She spoke in riddles, her words laced with warnings and old folklore. She spoke of Willow Creek's past, of a darkness that had settled over the town long ago, a darkness that never truly left. The old woman's tales were filled with sorrow and loss, stories of people who had vanished without a trace and of shadows that moved with a life of their own. Emily listened, her curiosity mingled with a growing dread, realizing that the past was not as distant as it seemed. One afternoon, while exploring the attic, Emily stumbled upon an old diary hidden beneath floorboards. It belonged to a young woman who had lived in the house over a century ago, her words filled with fear and despair. She wrote of strange occurrences, of voices calling her name, of a presence that haunted her every waking moment. The diary spoke of a hidden room, a place where secrets were buried. Emily, her curiosity piqued, convinced her father to help her find it. They discovered the room concealed behind a bookshelf, a small, dusty space with a single window overlooking the cemetery. Inside the room, they found more than just dust and cobwebs. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, as if the room itself held its breath, waiting for the secrets within to be uncovered. Old newspaper clippings plastered the walls, telling a gruesome tale. Each yellowed page was a fragment of a dark history, pieced together to reveal a narrative long forgotten by the townsfolk. A century ago, a fire had swept through Willow Creek, claiming the lives of several townsfolk. Their deaths ruled accidental. The flames had consumed homes and lives indiscriminately, leaving behind only ashes and sorrow. But the diary told a different story. Its pages, filled with hurried, desperate handwriting, spoke of fear and betrayal. The young woman wrote of a group of townsfolk driven by fear and paranoia, accusing her family of witchcraft. Her words painted a picture of a community gripped by hysteria, where neighbor turned against neighbor. They burned the house down with her family inside, silencing them forever. The flames were not just a means of destruction, but a tool of erasure, meant to wipe out any trace of the accused. As John and Emily stared at the clippings, a cold wind slammed the door shut, plunging the room into darkness. The sudden chill seemed to carry whispers of the past, echoing the cries of those who perished in the fire. The diary slipped from John's grasp, falling open to a page with a chilling illustration, a shadowy figure with glowing eyes standing over a burning house. The image seemed to come alive in the dim light, its eyes piercing through the darkness, as if watching them, waiting for the truth to be revealed. John and Emily exchanged a glance, their faces pale but resolute. They knew they had stumbled upon something far more sinister than they had ever imagined. The town's dark secret was no longer just a story from the past. It was a haunting reality that demanded to be uncovered. Outside, the town of Willow Creek lay silent under the moonlight, its streets empty and its buildings casting long, eerie shadows. The secrets buried within its history were beginning to resurface, and John and Emily were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As the clock tower struck midnight, they knew their journey was just beginning. The echoes of the past were calling, and they were ready to listen. Panic surged through John. He scrambled for the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. The room grew colder, the air thick with a palpable dread. He heard Emily gasp, her small hand slipping into his, her voice trembling. "Daddy, I'm scared!" The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, taking on menacing shapes. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a malevolent wind. John knew, with chilling certainty, that they had stumbled upon something sinister, something that had been lying dormant for years, waiting to be awakened. Suddenly the room was bathed in a blinding light. It was as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart, allowing an otherworldly presence to flood the space. The intensity of the light was overwhelming, casting long, eerie shadows that danced on the walls. John shielded his eyes, and when he could see again, he was met with a sight that made his blood run cold. His heart pounded in his chest as he tried to make sense of the surreal scene before him. The air was thick with an oppressive energy, making it hard to breathe. The shadowy figure from the diary stood before them, its eyes glowing with an eerie light, its features twisted in a grotesque mockery of a human face. It was as if the very essence of fear had taken a physical form. Standing there, watching them with an intensity that pierced their souls. The entity spoke, its voice a low growl that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the house. The sound was chilling, reverberating through the room and sending shivers down their spines. It was a voice that carried the weight of centuries, filled with a deep, unending sorrow and rage. It spoke of betrayal, of anger, of a thirst for revenge that had festered for a century. The words were like daggers, each one cutting deeper into the fabric of their reality. The entity's tale was one of unimaginable pain and suffering, a story that had been buried in the annals of time, now resurfacing with a vengeance. It spoke of the townsfolk's sins, of their lies and their deceit, and of how it would have its due. The entity recounted the dark history of the town, revealing secrets that had been long forgotten. It was a chilling reminder of the consequences of their actions, a haunting truth that could no longer be ignored. The room seemed to close in around them, the walls echoing the entity's words, as if the house itself was alive and bearing witness to the unfolding horror. Terror gripped John's heart. He knew they were in grave danger. He had to get Emily out of there, away from this malevolent presence. He threw his weight against the door, but it wouldn't budge. They were completely trapped. The entity advanced, its form flickering like a flame, its eyes never leaving them. Emily clung to her father, her small body trembling. John could feel the icy breath of the apparition on his neck, its presence suffocating, overwhelming. Just when John thought all hope was lost, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. It was Sarah, her voice filled with terror. The entity turned its head towards the sound, a flicker of something akin to amusement crossing its spectral features. "Your wife has seen the truth," it hissed, its voice dripping with malice. "Now she will join you." The light faded, plunging the room back into darkness. John stumbled back, pulling Emily along with him. They could hear Sarah's screams echoing through the house, each one a dagger to John's heart. John and Emily were never seen again. Some say they escaped, fleeing into the night, forever haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. Others say they never left the house, their souls consumed by the darkness that lingered within its walls. Willow Creek remained. The whispers continued. The shadows lingered. The town became a ghost town, its secrets buried beneath layers of fear and forgotten history. The haunting of Willow Creek served as a chilling reminder that some truths are best left buried, some doors best left unopened. For the darkness that resides in the shadows is always listening, always watching, waiting for its moment to claim new souls.